Oh, feeling refreshed after 2 glorious weeks of summer holidays with sunshine, friends, entertaining, family, magnificent. But now I'm excited as the season gets closer. First game of the Summer Soccer Series, done and dusted in the excited states of America, and I'm not going to comment a whole lot on games in isolation. I will review the entire series at the end of it, but between Newcastle and Aston Villa, there's not a whole lot to choose in terms of squads. Both are playing European football. Both can be party poopers this coming season. And Emi Buendia was the clear man of the match. But as I said before, I'll do a complete recap of all 3 games once that's done and dusted. I also am trying not to get too excited about Moussa Diaby and that signing, a record signing for Aston Villa, because I'm once Bayer Leverkusen speedy right winger bitten twice shy, shall I say. And honestly, this one kind of came out of the blue. I only started hearing the rumors. I'm not going to get seduced by hype and highlights, but there are many reasons to get excited here, particularly the targeted and strategic nature of Aston Villa's recruitment. So let's dissect the signing and welcome to Aston Villa, Moussa Diaby. This one almost came a little bit out of left field for me because we've been linked with so many players even since January, and Diaby wasn't necessarily one of them. And I think it's fair to say that Nico Williams was probably top of the right wingers list, and maybe Marco Asensio was up there as well. But some of the feelings around Aston Villa and some of the comments you read is that Diaby was, in fact, the biggest get because he's more than just a right winger. He can play striker, second striker, even as a number 10, and of course, left wing, like so many of Aston Villa's rumored targets. Very versatile players. And one of Monchi's big criteria when he was at Sevilla was he wanted the players that had the most amount of senior level games, including their national teams, but at the youngest age. Well, Diaby has only just turned 24, July 7th. So we've got a young player who's also actually in a good position of not being a full-fledged member of the French national team just yet, which might have been part of the project to bring him to Villa, because we all know that Unai Emery can help a player become a full-fledged member of the national team. One of Moussa Diaby's earlier coaches said he had a supernatural, divine gift. And we hear that a lot about young players sometimes, and they never end up achieving or living up to some of that hype. So I was extremely encouraged to see that Diaby and Emery crossed paths in Emery's second year at PSG, because he would have seen then firsthand the player's training habits, his ability to onboard information, which is really important when you're shelling out a club record fee believed to be, and you see different numbers all over the place, but £43 million is the understood value. And I will never again question Unai Emery's eyeballs after seeing Alex Moreno last year. A lot of people said, what are we paying 16 million quid for a 30-year-old fullback from Spain? Are you kidding? Those same people were the ones who were saying, this is way too much money for a winger, walk away or go after Harvey Barnes. Now, my only minor concern about this player is his size, because he's 5'6", and we know that football does not discriminate when it comes to stature. If you're rapid, you're rapid. It's just that if you're rapid and you're big, it's so difficult to handle. And in fact, I've said often on this show that Villa could probably use 1 or 2 more players in the forward positions that are of a greater stature, because over the course of 90 minutes, that takes a physical and it takes a mental toll on your opposition. And the Premier League is a physically demanding league. But there are more than enough examples of size does not matter in football when it comes to players, and the first one that comes to mind, a man who stood 5'7", so he would have towered over Moussa Diaby, was a fan favorite and was known for his pace and for skinning people and providing end product. Wouldn't it be amazing to have a modern day version of Tony Daly running down the flanks at Aston Villa Football Club? Oh, make it so. Welcome to the Holy Trinity Show and the 3 top reasons why Moussa Diaby could be a huge signing for Aston Villa. First of all, for me to comment on the transfer fee itself would be premature. We'll know in 2 to 3 years whether this was fair market value as of today. But I want to look back at the 2021 recruitment and then look at these 3 players we've brought in right now, because between these 3 players, we have upgraded our squad, added European experience, but we have not upgraded on our fees. Now, as far as the 2021 Jack Grealish replacement recruitment summer, look at those 3 players and look at the fees for those 3. So I've always said on this show, if you want to improve your squad and improve your table position, you have got to bring in players who are clear upgrades on what you currently have. And I believe Aston Villa has done that. And I love how they've gone about this transfer window. Strategic, I think very fair value. And maybe this has something to do with Monchi, his contacts, his understanding of valuations, his ability to talk to the person on the other club. No matter how you put it, so far, this window, in my opinion, and if it ended today, would be spectacular. Honorable mention on why this could be a huge signing for Villa. Moussa Diaby became a father at the age of 20, and you're thinking, well, what does that have to do with anything? Well, you know, if you've become a dad before, you know how it feels. He said in his own words, fatherhood completely grounded him, and it gave meaning to his life, and it completely changed his outlook on his work. Like he wanted to work harder because all of a sudden, you know, it wasn't just about him anymore. There was a little life and a little being that he had to look after. And his career has really arced since then. And while at PSG, not only with his own family, but he was more than happy to help out young Parisian boys to make sure they stayed on the right path. And he's also a humble guy. In fact, a lot of his former coaches and teammates said that Diaby spoke with his feet. He let his feet do the talking. He wasn't a chirper or a jibber-jabber. He just did the business. So here he is now, just 24 years of age, but loving life with his cute little family. And as you probably know, that's all going to go straight downhill over the next 10 years. Honorable mention and a number to keep track of this season. I think Aston Villa is going to earn more fouls and potentially more penalties because of this signing. We were the most fouled team last year, almost 500, and that was 20 more than Crystal Palace, but we only earned 4 penalties. The lowest in the league was 3, shared by 5 teams. The highest was 10 by Manchester City, and for us the year before it was only 3. So I can't help but feel that by adding a player who's so direct, who's so fast, and such great control, that we're going to up that penalty number a little bit. And even though I said I think this would be a spectacular transfer window if it ended today, I still think there is a name to come, and I think it's another attacking player and somebody who has an excellent conversion rate. And the names we're being linked to, you know, there's a theme there. These are high caliber conversion type players, and hopefully if we do bring that person in, they'll be able to take those penalties that Diaby helps us earn. Honorable mention, Diaby's development pathway. It's interesting that he's from the northeast part of Paris, which is kind of known for its street football scene. Well, all of the French capital is kind of known for its street football scene. If you've watched concrete football, you'll know what I'm talking about. And it's not just about the football. It's about fashion. It's about music. And it's a hotbed of incredible talent, some of whom go on to become pro, some of whom you'll never hear of again, but are still good. And That wasn't his scene. I'm sure it's the same in parts of London as well. But Diaby still had to learn how to become street smart on the football pitch, learn how to compete, learn how to compensate for his stature, and use his greatest weapons, his pace and his control, because during his era and in his area, there was incredible talent being scouted. And now a word from our sponsor, 24/7 Services UK, and its Villa Mad Managing Director Paul Handsaker, who happened to visit a couple of other Villa Mad supporters who are viewers of the Holy Trinity show, for which I'm so grateful. James Byrne from DP World, and also Rita and Patrick Nightingale. Paul visited Rita and Patrick because they wanted some cosmetic work on their ceiling. And this is where Paul's gift and also his integrity comes into play, because he's not going to tell you you need all this when you really just need that. And this is where a lot of people during renovations and trades work get fleeced. You and I aren't tradespeople. We don't know what the value is of jobs and projects. If a guy comes in and says, oh, I don't know, that looks like it's going to be about 3,000 quid there if we don't find any problems, how are we to know? And that's just not how Paul operates. His talent is in estimation. He'll give you a fair price. That's probably going to be the end price, and you're going to be happy with the work. So that, say, Rita and Patrick come back in a few months and say, hey, Paul, can you build us some kind of custom cabinetry so that we can show off all our Villa gear? Because Patrick has more stuff than I do. That's how you get repeat customers, integrity and quality. It's why 24/7 services are busy all the time, and it's why Paul sleeps so well at night. And by the way, they're on the socials now. If you follow them, you'll be entered to win this XL version of the home kit, which I'll do in probably about a week's time. Good luck. A very important honorable mention, Diaby delivers dubs. And by dubs, I mean W's, wins. It's always a good thing when a player you recruit seems to always be on winning teams. And in Diaby's case, also has a lot of European experience. But even as far back as 10 and 11 years old, when he was on his Parisian club, Espérance, he was in this local and prestigious tournament where a lot of future stars were playing, which of course attracted a lot of scouts. And his team was down 4-1 at halftime, and he goes and he scores 4 goals, and they win 6-5. And that really was where the buzz kind of started, because all 4 of those goals, despite being totally different, were all rooted in the same thing: extreme pace and extreme control. 7 years later at PSG's academy, he helps the U17s win their championship. In fact, he played across multiple age groups and was consistently good in all of them. 2016 named the club's TT d'Or, the academy most promising player. He moves to Leverkusen, has experienced nothing but European football the whole time. Top scorer in the club last season, even helps them to a cup final. So this is a guy that is not unfamiliar with the concept of being on a winning team. And along with Unai Emery, we need many players who understand what it takes to win, including Europe. And Diaby is a guy who loved European football. Remember, he only just turned 24. He's played 37 games between the Champions League and the Europa League. He has 14 goals, 8 assists. That's 22 goal competitions out of 37 European Cup games. The number 3 reason why this could be a huge signing for Aston Villa, Diaby's dogged and diligent dedication. When you ask the player himself what his best attributes are, he doesn't say speed, he doesn't say his control, he says his work habits. This is a very encouraging fact. And like I alluded to earlier about him becoming a dad at age 20 and suddenly realizing, well, my work has more meaning. I'm going to put more into it because I want to get more out of it. I got a family to look forward to. And lo and behold, he progressed in a lot of areas over the last 2 years, working on his defensive duties, which he's going to have to do a lot of under Unai Emery. Last year, though, the focus was all on one thing: better conversion rate, being more clinical in front of goal. Lo and behold, he becomes Leverkusen's top scorer the next season with 9 goals to go along with the 8 that he helped create. Now, this may not be as straightforward in the Premier League as it was in the Bundesliga, but you could argue that Diaby's best gift is his desire to continually improve on details year upon year, and that falls very much in line with how Unai Emery goes about things, trying to draw the best out of players. And I wonder if that was already evident in the short time that those two worked together at PSG, because Diaby's goal conversion rate is 14.8. That's not bad. Not bad for a winger. The elite and the great seasons start in the 20s. So there's something that perhaps Professor Unai can help Diaby improve on, and he can be an even bigger goal contributor with Aston Villa. Big reason number 2 why this could be a huge signing, Diaby's devastating dash. I don't know if you've seen this graphic or not. The list of the Champions League's fastest players, including Canadian Alphonso Davies at the top, but Moussa Diaby is on this list. And if he ran at top speed in our country through a school zone, he'd receive a ticket. That's how fast he is. And that is wonderful. Pace is a wonderful thing. No club ever says, we're good, we have enough pace. You can always use more. And the opponent always has to worry about that guy who can run beyond you. But pace and pace alone does not necessarily translate into elite. And the number 1 big reason why this could be a huge signing for Aston Villa, Diaby's dribbling, of course. When you combine elite level pace with elite technical ability, you have a player that causes opponents nightmares and can change games and cause chaos. And you know what? Maybe even more importantly, can get the fans out of their seats, because part of this whole journey to improve Aston Villa and put us on the map is to make us a more compelling and exciting team that other people go, what's happening over there? And listen, every single professional player on the planet has a highlight reel of some sort. And I don't get seduced by them because it's easy to find the best bits of a player's career, put them all together and go, wow, he's good. But what is abundantly clear when you watch Diaby's highlights is that the ball appears to be on a string or a magnet to his foot. Doesn't matter if he's in space, doesn't matter if he's surrounded or in congested traffic areas. He can draw players in, he can go around them, he can go through them, he can get away from them, he can run beyond them. This player is going to cause the opponents fits. And that's exactly what we need. We all heard the same thing about another ex-Leverkusen speedy winger, and I know that injuries have halted or thwarted or hampered Leon Bailey, who he's a sprinter. You know, and he's had sprinter-type injuries since arriving at Aston Villa. But what we need is pace with purpose. We need players who can get past fullbacks and then get in their heads. In this age of inverted wingers, and remember, Diaby's a lefty. That's his preferred foot. It's hard to tell when you watch him play, but he's an inverted right winger who can play as a striker and a left winger. Wouldn't it be wonderful to see a guy who can legit skin fullbacks time and time again and provide some end product? This move's going to be fascinating on how it impacts Leon Bailey. I could see a world, because they did play together at Leverkusen, where this actually elevates Leon Bailey. It pushes him on. Could also be the end of him, though. One other thing I really like about this signing, and it may sound a little bit esoteric, but if you're a long-term Villa fanatic like me, and you look through all the eras, there are certain player types and players in certain positions that fans seem to gravitate towards. I think a lot of clubs love a commanding goalkeeper, and we just so happen to have a very good one at the moment. But think about a commanding leadership type center back, going all the way back to Alan Evans, McGraw, obviously, Mellberg, Larson, even Terry and Chester during those years. We love that kind of player. We've also always loved our pacey wingers. I mentioned Tony Daly earlier. Well, of course, Tony Morley, a legend for our club and one of the best all time. But even if you chuck in Jack Grealish, of course, Ashley Young in his prime, if Moussa Diaby is able to live up to the hype and to his fee, he could be an all-timer with this club. And we're starting to collect A really interesting ensemble of characters when you add a John McGinn in there, Ollie Watkins as well. This is a team that is getting easier and easier to fall in love with. As I said earlier, I'll have a full recap of the Summer Sacker series when it's all said and done. This is Tinker time. Yes, there is some assessment occurring, but this is about fitness. This is about getting to that next stage, which is the polishing preseason stage, and we'll have a far better understanding of Aston Villa Football Club when we get to Lazio and Valencia, when we'll start to see how much true depth we have and what kind of combinations Unai Emery is dealing with. Now, are we going to see another signing through the door in the next couple of weeks? My sense is it's going to be more about making exit decisions more than incoming ones right now. And Emery hinted at the press conference on Friday that this was going to be a time when they were going to deeply assess the market and see if there was opportunity. Because in my heart of hearts, I do feel as though there is a big, big name still potentially to come in. And that will be another attack-minded player who can play in all of those forward positions. But the key is, I'm going to sound like a broken record, goal conversion rate, the ability to create goals and the ability to finish them. Until the next news or after the series is over, be well, soak up the sun, and as always, up the mighty Villa.